Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our next session of Fire by Live. In this interview session, I'm joined by Alex Airnes, the Business Development Manager for Allegion. In this interview, we'll be going over the finer details of fire door hardware in the fire industry and the wider context of certification, trends, and challenges. So thank you, Alex, for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. Just to start, could you give us a little introduction into who you are and who Allegion is and their role in the market?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks for having us. My name is Alex Airnes, and I'm the Business Development Manager for Scotland and the North of England for Allegion UK. We work closely with the Britain brand, and as part of my role, we collaborate with our partners to provide essential specification support for door hardware to ensure fire, life safety and accessibility requirements are met. Allegion UK specialises in mechanical hardware solutions, producing high quality, highly engineered door hardware designed to endure constant use in busy environments across the world. We've over 100 years of industry knowledge and understanding, and at Allegion UK we've assembled a house of reputable brands offering everything from door closers and exit devices to door furniture, residential, commercial locks. And as experts in the industry, we recognise that architectural ironmongery plays a critical role in the safety and security of the built environment, and we remain committed to raising awareness of the importance of correctly specified, installed and maintained fire door hardware.
So a very established brand then. And just to dive straight into the interview here, when it comes to passive fire prevention, we've seen obviously a number of regulatory reforms recently, such as the Fire Safety Act 2021, the Building Safety Bill. But what does this mean for stakeholders?
I think it means that we're facing a continuous industry-wide challenge to improve fire safety within buildings in the UK. So whether it's schools or hospitals, whether it's high-rise residential structures or industrial facilities, fire safety is the highest importance for any category of building, because when it comes to fire, there's just no exemptions to it. And following the government's building safety reform, the groundbreaking Grenfell Tower inquiry, the introduction of regulatory reforms, it's really just validated that fire safety standards in high-rise and other multi-occupied buildings, residential buildings, are important. The Fire Safety Act 2021, which amends the regulatory reform, the Fire Safety Order of 2005, impacts multiple touch points in the built environment, and it's really warning stakeholders of the importance of processes, watertight processes. The new regulation has drawn significant impression on duty holders in those multi-occupied high-rise buildings, from the architects who drop the plans right through to the developers who build them, then the landlords and building owners who are responsible for maintaining a safe and compliant environment for residents and occupiers once those buildings are completed. So it's really important. Equally, the Building Safety Bill has an impact on stakeholders, but instead it grants residents and homeowners more rights, powers and protection, and that's to hold builders and developers to account by introducing tougher sanctions against those who neglect safety. And most recently, we've seen government published guidance that explains the roles and requirements of responsible persons in all non-domestic premises, with a change being a result of the Fire Safety Order alterations from the Building Safety Act of 2022. So all of that combined means that there's a significant overhaul in how responsible persons must approach fire safety in recent years. The reforms have been put in place to improve fire safety standards as a whole, and with an aim to make residents, occupants and visitors feel safer within the buildings they live, work and play. And ultimately that has to be a positive that we're trying to take from this.
And there's a few points there that you mentioned that we will go into a little bit more detail in this interview. But just holding quickly on the importance of fire safety in buildings, not just any buildings, but also in particularly multi-occupancy buildings. Obviously, the 6-year anniversary for the Grenfell tragedy took place this year. And in your opinion, have we seen that this disaster has revolutionised passive fire prevention in the built environment?
Yeah, I think so. There's no doubt that Grenfell was a catalyst for change. The fact that everyone's aware of what happened there, and indeed, the findings of some of the reports. So ever since, we've seen incremental introduction of new reforms, such as the Fire Safety Act of 2021, the Building Safety Act 2023, alongside major government funding schemes, and it's playing strategic roles in raising fire safety standards across the board. I think at one point, for some, fire safety might have been an afterthought, whereas now it's really at the forefront of the media and people's minds. And despite significant steps being made, there's still a level of uncertainty and misconception towards passive fire protection and fire door safety. So fire safety legislation and guidance has now moved on and continues to change from 1st of October 2023. New guidance will be coming into force. And with that said, if we're to make further improvements, it needs cooperation, coordination and compliance. So there's an onus on all decision makers and responsible persons to keep informed, to stay on track and keep looking to do the best that they can.
Definitely. And given these new reforms that you just mentioned and that additional pressure on the industry for competency, have you seen a keener interest from your customers about acquiring not just any product, but the highest caliber products to ensure that safety and competency?
Yeah, I think so. As a manufacturer, we found that partners throughout the supply chain are more readily reaching out for expert advice in all areas of door hardware selection, whether that's installation or maintenance. Allegion products are an integral part of the door system, and as such, we are working hard to ensure our customers have access to the information they need concerning fire door performance, product traceability. So that means that when they're specifying or purchasing Britain fire door hardware, they know the support's there. I think there's a demand for higher product standards, and we believe at each touch point there should be a golden thread of detail which gives you that traceability and peace of mind. So at Allegion, we welcome notified bodies and supporting industry bodies that are lobbying for change, right through the manufacturing of the door system to its components, its installation process. The Construction Products Association continue to develop their accredited scheme, the Code of Construction Product Information, CCPI, which provides customers with transparent and accurate product information, which is driving for higher standards in the industry. So for us, it's that golden thread and just being able to see what that hardware is certified to do and why it's there.
And earlier you touched upon the role of the responsible person, but can you just tell me, what are the responsibilities of decision makers or this new responsible person?
I think for some people, the responsible person, it's not just one person. Ultimately, everyone has a role to play when it comes to the fire safety. So I think specifically the fire safety order places the duty of fire safety protection on a building's responsible person, but all designated responsible people must provide in-depth, transparent overviews of building's condition and ensure that all necessary steps have been followed to reduce the risk of fire. As part of their obligations, a responsible person is required to possess robust knowledge of fire safety. They've got to manage ongoing risk assessments and be familiar with the Fire Safety Act of 2021. So we urge all responsible persons to review their responsibilities under new fire safety legislation, which could include conducting regular fire door hardware checks to help identify potential fire hazards in their building, and if faced with any uncertainty through the process, to seek professional help. So again, the guidance is there, the advice is there, seek that out, but again, everyone has that role to play when it comes to fire safety.
And just bringing it back briefly to Allegion specialty, what is the role of architectural ironmongery in the built environment?
Well, it's crucial. The ongoing fire safety, security and accessibility of any built environment is made possible by architectural ironmongery. There's a considerable amount of skill involved when choosing products. Simply put, there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution out there. There isn't a magic device or contraption or piece of hardware that's going to make you compliant. So as a manufacturer, we work closely with architectural ironmongers and installers to ensure calculated and proactive choices are made throughout their decision-making process. Ironmongery is a critical component of a building's infrastructure, and we must continue to build upon industry education by providing those decision makers with the means to work with accredited professionals who understand the latest industry standards, regulations and legislation to then select the correct architectural ironmongery.
And how important is the specification, installation and the maintenance of door controls and fire door hardware in these types of buildings? And is there any way that we can mitigate the risks for people or assets?
Yeah, well, built environments range in size, functionality, accessibility, and as such, careful consideration must be put into the specification and installation of fire doors and their hardware. Qualified professionals throughout the specification process are given a really difficult role to master, given that hardware is subject to more than 58 British and European standards. An open door will not contain a fire and smoke, meaning a fully functioning door closer is essential to its operation. So as such, door closers must pass a series of standardised tests to confirm certification and reliability throughout specification. So it's crucial for responsible persons to confirm accreditations and ensure the correct choices aren't neglected due to tight budgets, time constraints, or lack of knowledge. Quite simply, the right door closer on the correct door will save lives. So similarly, when it comes to installation and maintenance, responsible persons must also lean on outside expertise if they're unsure. Regular maintenance is required to ensure fire doors and their hardware retain their standards whilst in operation. If a fire door hardware is specified incorrectly or a fixing position isn't applied appropriately, again, a fire door could be rendered useless, putting the building and its occupants at risk in the event of fire. The passive safety just wouldn't be there.
And are there any other key challenges that you think you face when it comes to fire door hardware?
Yeah, I think so. As industry continues to tighten up on legislation and testing standards, I think we've got to look for the benchmarks for fire door hardware, and those standards are going to rise. So with that, we've got to welcome the drive towards more accurate product information, as we're beginning to see with the government's independent review of the construction product testing regime and the Code for Construction Product Information, CCPI, as an example. So I think we just need to keep striving for better.
Definitely. I think for the future of fire safety, it needs to definitely be a collaborative approach, not just for fire engineers and manufacturers, but government and responsible people, everyone coming together collectively to improve that competency culture and that fire safety culture going forward. Just before we part, Alex, is there anything else that you wanted to mention?
No, from me, that's it. I think the advice is there that, when it comes to specifying the hardware or the maintenance of it, to look for that golden thread of information, get the advice that you need. And there are ways to find that, and that's through a number of manufacturers, governing bodies. The advice is out there. So if in doubt, check it out.
I like that. If in doubt, check it out. That's a great phrase. Well, thank you, Alex, for your time. It's always appreciated getting Allegion's insights into the passive fire market. And if anybody has any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Allegion's exhibitor booth, and you can find out more and speak to Alex directly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.